The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
We're on.
Yes, you are on.
All right. So we have we didn't have any introduction audio, so.
Well, good morning, Fall River. It is Wednesday, September 30th.
Yep, the last
How's that weather out there? Is it still raining?
Oh, it's beautiful. And welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm
CJ.
Nisa.
Yeah, there we are. We got them all.
And CJ, your audio's low.
Oh, I'm
I don't know what
sorry.
the issue is, but it's live television and half your head is missing, which some people may not
People
really
appreciate
argue
that.
about, but no, now you're there. Good.
People-
There you go.
There you
Right.
go. You
Stop.
got it.
Stop. Perfect. No, you're drifting, but that's okay.
I always drift.
Okay, well, let's see. Where do we begin today? There was a city council meeting last night.
Quite interesting.
Yes, and, you know, more money is being spent, more positions are being taken, and there was an obvious attempt by the Sutter people to quash debate. I found it rather ironic because we still don't have any audio. I can't really hear myself, so I don't know if we're going out on the air.
Are we good?
You're good.
All right, well, it's kind of like difficult if you don't know that. But I find it difficult that people were calling points of order and talking about parliamentary procedure in a body that historically has never, ever done anything in accordance with parliamentary procedure. I don't think half of that body knows the priorities of motions and what motions are non-debatable and what motions aren't. So it was politics has reared its head within a council meeting because there was an obvious attempt to not allow certain people to voice their opinion, which I think was pretty telling. So, Nisa, I know you got a ton of notes there, so I don't know if any of it's out there. So let's see what your big notepad's got.
Why are you looking at my notes, Chip?
I don't know. I'm looking at all those notes. I never have any notes because I'm
Let's
an
start off with
ad-lib guy. So.
The firefighter situation. Well, it's glad to know that we do have people that care about our firefighters. So the mask situation, I think that's a big issue that I wasn't too aware of, but it's such a safety hazard, and you would think that it would be more of an issue or as I would say, a priority in this case, because it's a safety matter. It's not just a hazard for the people putting their life at risk to protect this community, but it's a hazard because if firefighters don't make it, then who's going to save us?
Well, I can tell you from experience that the only time anybody needs a firefighter is kind of like the only time they ever need a police officer is when they're hanging out a third-floor window and their flames coming out, licking their rear ends, and then they worry about the fire department because historically nobody ever thinks they're going to have a fire in their home, and this community has an extreme fire hazard. The buildings are very close. It's an old area, but this gets back again to the politics. It's been politics. The replacement of apparatus has never been done. Even though they said they were going to create a program, there's been no, again, you look at what this administration has done to address these problems, and the answer is nothing. Because one of the things that has to be done is they have to look at the overall table of organization of that department and maybe restructure, move some more people into lines where they're actually on the trucks fighting fires. There also has to be, addressing the issue of the two contracts they got during the Flanagan administration, which boosted up the cost. Because let's not try to sugarcoat this. Fire protection in any city, except when there's a tragedy, is all about the money.
Right.
It's all about the money. And a classic example of that is I met with Mayor Sutter, you know, a long time ago, just a few months into his administration. I presented him with about 100 pages, and I could have presented him with 1,000 pages.
That was your plan and documentation. You put it in documentation.
Well, it was studies. Actually, Providence, Rhode Island was one of the studies, but it was about district chief's aides and how district chief's aides enhance the ability of a chief officer to do the job. It's a very productive use of manpower, and all of those studies clearly stated that there was a move to eliminate district chief's aides, but now the movement in progressive cities is to bring them back,
right,
because they understand the value of that position when it comes to actual firefighting and a firefighting operation. And they said very clearly in all those studies, the reality was money. Mm-hmm. Cities eliminated these positions because of money. And in a case of Fall River, it was because they saved a few dollars in overtime, because the people in the chief's car put in the company reduced a little bit of company overtime. So again, the Sutter administration is saying, oh, I saved money in the fire department by getting rid of the district chief's aides. I'm calling you on it, Sam. You always talk about data. I gave you data from Fire Engineering, National Fire Protection Association, all the top sources in the industry, in fire protection, that basically said this was a very good use of manpower, and you ignored it for the money. So we'll get back to that.
Well, Chip, I'm sorry
Go
to
ahead.
interrupt,
No,
but
go ahead. I'm done.
that seems to be the #1 problem here, and especially in these meetings. There's a lot of talk, but no actions. They have these data, they have these statistics, all these numbers, but where's the plan? Where is this documented? And which brings me to the education issue here. So where's the plan that has been created for the oversized classrooms? You know, children are falling behind, and that's the one statistic that I am 100% aware of, is that children will fall behind when they're in oversized classrooms with one teacher. And then some people want to blame the teachers for it, when teachers have nearly 30 students in a classroom. So these numbers, where is the plan documented? And yesterday what I did see was what I heard was a lot of numbers, was a lot of suggestions. It's great that the teachers are being asked for suggestions on how to reduce the likelihood that children will fall behind, but where is the plan? That was the first step. Where is the next step?
Now, Nisa, you're asking,
Right.
you're asking for something a little ridiculous.
CJ's talking, but there's no sound.
How can there be no sound?
Still. All right, so I'll talk while you're doing it. But the problem is, this is a city, this is Fall River at its best. They use statistics that help them try to confuse the people. But
Right.
The bottom line is really simple. Our classroom size is growing, and there's overcrowding in the classroom while we're paying for overcrowding in administration.
Yes.
We have a higher percentage we have one of the highest percentage of administrators to teachers in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So again, we hear a lot of talk, and as you said, we hear a lot of talk and see no real action, because you know they try to muddy the water by giving all these statistics and as we always said, you know, figures don't lie, but liars can figure. You know, just as when he talked about our tax rate being lower than New Bedford, but they didn't include all the fees, and then we find out the ratio of taxes to income, we're one of the highest in the state. They manipulate data, but you know, we can cut through all that BS. That's why we're here. And you bring up the point. We look at the subject, and let's call a spade a spade. We've got tons of administrators. We don't have enough teachers, and our classrooms are too large, and our administrative pool is too large. We got too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Well, the superintendent, Meg Mayo-Brown, she had stated it is not likely that early age students who experience large class sizes will later, it's not likely that they will later experience it in middle school, because someone did bring that up. So in the city of Fall River, or in any city with large poverty rates, you have these people in the public school system. So how is it not likely that elementary school students will move on to middle school? She says that there's a bubble eventually where it is not likely that they will have the same issue in middle school. Where are these kids going? Are they moving out of Fall River? Especially within the poverty rates here. I don't see where that bubble would come in my opinion.
This again is where data has to really be looked at closely. We have a lot of data that can be, if you look at graduation rates. Now, if you look at the number of people who start their senior year in high school and then look how many graduate, it's a completely different number than people who begin high school and don't graduate. So you can use the number that suits your argument, but the reality is, if you want a true graduation rate, you see the number of people that were eligible to finish high school and didn't, the people who started as freshmen. It's the same thing with this. Where are these children going? Are they leaving the system? Are they going somewhere else? And then the entire premise, and I mean, sometimes with the things she says, it's appallingly, it's appallingly ridiculous because for her to say that it's not a big deal in the lower grades, this is where you formulate your study habits. You build the foundation to get educated. So if you don't get that in the lower grades because of class overcrowding, it's like coming to college without going to high school. When you get to college and the college English professor is not going to teach you how to spell and punctuate. He's teaching at a college level. He expects the foundation to have been laid in grammar and in high school. And they're not going to take the time to teach you rudimentary stuff. And this is the whole thing about her. For her to say that it's kind of like irrelevant, oh, don't worry about it, they're overcrowded, it's absurd.
Well, Chip, that's the thing. When you don't have a good base, the foundation happens in elementary school. And when students start falling back in elementary school, they start losing interest in going to school at all. So that's where you're going to see, which, to elaborate on your point, the dropout rates, the grades falling because they're not motivated to be there. So maybe that's where the bubble comes in, because people start dropping off in middle school, so there's less classroom sizes.
I think the bubble may be between Mayo-Brown's ears, and the fact is that look, let's look at this. I mean, this is not, I can't prove this, but maybe somebody wants to do a study. We had a guy that did a study about the ratio of tax to median income for us, one of our viewers. But the reality is, let's look at a accurate picture of Fall River. Look at the demographic we have. We have a lot of children from poorer families, which means that their parents are probably out working all the time. They're not taking them to educational forums and watching educational TV. They're probably going to work, coming home, and trying to get a little bit of rest and have a dinner and relax. And also we have people who are coming here with English as a second language. We have people coming in here who already got 2 strikes against them because, number one, they don't have a nurturing environment for education at home, or they have issues because they're coming from a different country. This is when, at the lower grades, we need smaller classes where we can give these people more attention, get them engaged, teach them, and as you said, by the time they get to middle school, the bubbles between her ears, because they probably got pulled out and stuck in a mill somewhere, and that's the reason that these statistics are. But the fact is, and we did it on yesterday's show, and it's ironic, I left it in the car. We had the reality is that every school in the city of Fall River did not meet the requirements.
Correct.
And there's the bottom line. Mayo-Brown is full of baloney.
But the thing that really gets me, and hopefully you can hear me in the studio now.
We can hear you.
Yeah, you gotcha.
Is the fact that there are 4 schools. 4. The Doran, the Green, the Laterno, and the Fonseca. Those 4 schools are central to the city, okay? It's Quarry Street, or Wall Street is listed as the address, right next to Father DeFario Housing Project. The Doran, which is down at the bottom of Columbia. You have the Green, which is over on Lapham Street, which is over in my area, in the south end, and the Laterno, also in the south end next to the Old Harbor Mall. Those are the schools. The Green, 95% of the classrooms are over capacity. Two have over 25 students. One teacher, over 25 students. And they wonder why these are the schools that aren't meeting educational testing standards. And they touted the fact that because of our demographics, we got $1.3 million more for Title I. And we're going to use a portion of that to downsize the schools. You know what the other portion's going to go to? Hey, Meg, if I'm wrong, call me. We'd love to have you on. The rest is going to go to high-paying jobs for more of her friends, just like every other job in the school department. Okay? And Melissa Panchley had to be at the city council meeting last night because she's on the chairman of the finance committee to talk about that $1.3 million. She never talked about it, but they're having a meeting today on that $1.3 million. But the thing that gets me is yesterday they transferred $1.6 million from that $5.984 million surplus revenue, $1.6 million to the school department, and they still did not meet net school spending.
The checks in the mail.
The checks in the mail.
The checks in the mail.
But this is where we go back to fuzzy math, mystical money, and they're saying that we will meet that money, but we have to have this money available so that we can get a better bond rating.
Right.
So that we can be able to borrow more money, which they tried to slip that one under the law, which of course the law doesn't apply in Fall River. Try to slip that under the law and try to get it slipped in, and the secretary turned around and said, "Oh, I made a mistake." And Joe Camara said, "Well, I put it in because it's necessary for $1 million study on whether or not to build a new high school, which should not have to be rebuilt, but because they built it so poorly the first time, they need a new high school." I mean, this is where we go.
Well, because of the issue in hand, the way she had worded a portion of the $1.3 million, if there was a plan at least documented, she would at least know an estimate of what this portion is. Which brings me to question, not that I don't trust what you're saying, CJ, but it does make sense. Where is the other? Where is it going to be magically applied?
We never know. We see how political.
Oh no, they know exactly where it's going.
Yeah.
Except they don't want to tell us because people are going to get outraged.
Exactly.
The reality is,
it's a portion.
I think also, she made the statement that what a revelation. Our finance team again removes their head from their derriere long enough to make a statement that the bags and the fees are not realizing the profit that they thought.
Right.
What a surprise. Hey guys, you know what this means? They're going to raise those fees next year.
That's right. Oh.
That's what it means. And as soon as if Sammy Boy gets reelected, he'll say that 19 out of 20 people want to raise the fees.
Right.
And so, but this is what Fall River does. We're going to use a portion. We're going to do a study. Guess what? What, $3.5 million for the Westall School?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Look at Durfee. Here's a classic example of the total inefficiency in the city of Fall River. We have a school that's gone into disrepair. We've got a high school that's only 40 years old that needs to basically be bulldozed and rebuilt. And now we want to spend another $3.5 million on another school. Well, you know something? I think we better bring in some outside contractors and some people who actually care about money and do a job. Because you know something? I'll give you another example that you don't know. The Globe Fire Station. It's one of the older stations now because most of the ones in the 1800s have been turned over to other sources. But it has a flat roof, and for you people who don't know what flat roofs are, they're very difficult. They leak a lot. It could be because if there's a depression, it collects water. They have repaired that roof, I don't know how many times, and spent millions of dollars on that roof. And nobody, even though somebody told them, we have a lot of guys on a job that know construction. They do it on the side. They said, well, why don't you pitch the roof a little bit so it doesn't accumulate water? Pitch roofs don't have these problems. This has been a problem for over 50 years.
It's not rocket science.
But no, what do? They fix the flat roof again and wait another 10 years till it leaks again, and we spend more money. You know, giving these people money is insanity. That's why we have to change our government. You know, there's a thing called, there was a theory that was developed in the Middle Ages called Occam's razor. And from Occam's razor comes the old saying that sometimes the best action is the simplest action. Well, Occam's razor basically says that if you have theories on how to do things, or you're examining a course of action, normally, and not always, but normally the course with the least amount of unknowns in it, the least amount of possibilities is normally the best action.
Right.
You know, so the simplest action is normally the best action. And you can take that and extrapolate it into what we have here today in this election. We can apply Occam's razor to the election. We have two theories. We have the theory of Jazel Correa and the theory of Sam Sutter. But Sam Sutter isn't really a theory, because Sam Sutter's been in office for 9 months. So we can eliminate the variables. Granted, everything that Jazel says is a theory right now. Whether that action is followed through is another issue. But what we have here is, the simplest theory is, eliminate the theory on Sam. Sam's closed senior centers, public libraries, continues to spend money, is looking for all this money. They talk about bonding again. Kathy Ann said again, we can bond Samoa. We want to increase our bond rating. You know, if you and I did that, it would be fraud.
Well, Chip,
when a city does that, it's normal business.
Right.
They artificially infuse money into their books to increase their bond rating. And you know who suffers? Us, because again, we have another administration that thinks that we can bond endlessly and spend money endlessly, and that applies to every facet of government. I don't care whether it's building a school, hiring teachers, keeping firefighters, getting apparatus. The problem is that we spend every single dime that we give them, and then they ask for more, and they're going to continue to do this until the city goes into receivership.
Well, Chip, I'm going to use your words, and you've said it before. Do your research.
No question about that.
Do your research, and it's educate yourself on these candidates in any election. This goes for presidential elections, the government, and Fall River needs to take initiative and take it into their own hands to know that this is their city, this is their home. This isn't a popularity contest where, oh, well, I like his tie, you know, he bought me a hot dog. Back to that.
Unfortunately,
so
that's true.
that's the thing. If you are truly in it for your home and having an organized community, an organized government, do your education and do your own research. Don't take our word for it. He's said it before. So with this said, look into the facts about Sam Sutter, look into the background of the other candidates. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get any more simple than that.
You're right, Nisa, and that's what people have to do. That's why we encourage them. We encourage them. Listen, okay, if you're happy with the fact that he closed a senior center and a public library to save 80 grand, and then he gives a guy a $92,000 job for working 18 and a half hours, vote for him.
Right.
If you think that we should be doing all this bonding and continuing to say that every projection that this city has made is wrong, again, you know, what did they say when they said they needed the trash fee? If we get this fee, we're all set. We're going to have firefighters. Everything's in the city's fine. Now, oh, well, we're coming in under. Well, we're coming in this. But, you know, the fact is that, listen, I've said it before, and I don't need to write it down like Steve Long. And somebody told me he fell asleep and was snoring into the mic yesterday. I didn't see that part.
Oh my gosh.
But if that's the case, shame on you. I mean, I know that sometimes you're torn at it.
Maybe he was exhausted.
Well, sometimes as city councilman,
Chip
you're
is-
torn between going postal or taking a Valium and going to sleep. But
You need to be more considerate. These people are hard-working people, you know?
I'd just like to see one time, I'd like to see Mr. Long do what we do. Sit here and be able to talk from the cuff, not read. Because whenever anybody reads, I question whether they actually, it's actually their words, or did somebody give them those words? And I read when I read quotes, but virtually everything I do is off the cuff, and I remember statistics very well. But I remember one very telling statistic. In the past 5 years, the city has raised over $47 million more than it did 5 years ago. So we not only blew the $47 million in new revenue, we not only blew the $15 million you saved in health care, we not only blew all the reserve cash we got, they're saying that they've underprojected our budget, which now begs the question, did they lie about the budget? They said the budget was balanced. If these projections weren't accurate, the budget, in fact, is not balanced. And we're going to run short of money. And you know what that means? I know that Sam was at Newport Creamery this Sunday shaking hands. He found Fall River. I'm sure he needed his GPS to find a Newport Creamery.
Did he buy awful awfuls for people?
Yeah, he might have bought some awful waffles, but as you said.
Where was I? Nobody informed me of this.
Well, you're asleep at the wheel there, Nisa. You're asleep at the wheel.
But don't listen to this rhetoric. It's like, look, let's look at the reality of what we're facing here.
Right.
And they continue to spend money. And when our administration gets up there and says, we got more room to bond, we've got more room to go in deeper debt, you know what to tell them? You're gone.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that deeper debt thing? Excuse me. They turned around and they said they were at $9-point-some-odd billion, okay, of debt, or whatever it was, million, billion. I lost count already. I've lost count with all the zeros. I get lost. But we still have point-some-odd% to go. And if we do this is going to be in the short-term portion, so it's not going to get rolled into that yet, because that's only for a year long. And then we're going to roll in the long-term money. And they already projected out how much we're going to pay, but during that period of time, we're going to be taking debt and we're going to be paying it off, so we got to take that out of the equation. The problem I have is with this. For them to get that bond, they have to have excess number of dollars in the slush fund, the stabilization fund, or the free cash fund, is whatever they want to call it. So they didn't pay the school department the $1 million they're required to pay them to meet net school spending. So according to John Noon's CMMT, CMMC, that's Certified Money Management Thief, Certified Money Management Crony. That's, in my opinion, that's what they stand for. They turned around and they said, oh no, we'll make it. And then the city council says, oh no, that was a promise for us. We'll definitely make it. If you don't meet the money, because again, here's another little thing we got to throw into the fire. If they don't meet the sanitation fund balance, they're going to have a shortfall. They have to prove to the Department of Revenue that they're going to be able to meet that shortfall. They're going to use the free cash money to meet the shortfall. Now wait a minute, because we're using the free cash money to meet the shortfall. We're using the free cash money to pay the $1 million. We're using the free cash money to get better bonding. How is this free cash on a tap and they just open it and
Yeah,
it
they
just
just
keeps
keep switching it
It's
around.
excess taxes that we were.
Yes, it is.
Overcharged.
But you see how the money management team doesn't know it's right from its left,
Right.
and they deceive regularly.
Yeah, and look, let's apply Occam's razor. What's the simplest answer to this question? We're running out of money. You know what the simplest answer is? We're going to apply Occam's razor. Stop spending.
That's true.
I mean, it's not that difficult.
No, it's not.
You know, it's not that difficult. Stop spending money.
Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you Friday. Have a great day, and hey, run between the raindrops.
Thank you so much. Be careful in that weather.
And stay angry. And get out there in November and vote.